growing up here and being near the ocean. In Germany, right? We weren't on the coast. That's why we're not back in Germany or somewhere else not near the coast. We're on the coastal Maine.
Are you on the coast in Maine?
Well, not on it, but near it. And there's a river right near us that's awesome.
River's not the ocean.
It's brackish. It's salt water coming in.
So how far from the ocean, Artie, do you live?
Oh, what, 3 miles, Rich?
2 miles.
Yeah.
And she would pick us up and bring us back in a rowboat.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way we were going to get home.
Right.
Oh, you mean Margaret Lewis? You said Aunt Margaret. I was thinking of the elderly one.
No, not Margaret.
I
She-
was just telling somebody about that. What? You walked to school over a boardwalk with water under it? Yeah. That
I
would
don't
be
remember a
flooded?
boardwalk.
Yeah, it's gone probably.
Well, I mean, I didn't. It wasn't there when I.
Yeah, it was a boardwalk that would get kind of washed away, or it would, the water would come.
It was all covered with water.
Right.
And the street was covered down the other end. So the only two ways you could get in to get home were blocked off entirely, and then the people at Tommy Colton's brought us in and gave us free soup.
Tommy Colton's was an old bar.
Yeah.
Could go in,
I went
but we
in
all
there.
snuck in. You know, and you'd always have some drunk coming out and falling down the street or something. What was great about this place, it was a neighborhood. I mean, the neighborhood you dream of when you're growing up as a kid. I mean, everybody watched out for everybody else. Every parent was your parent because they wouldn't be afraid to just give you a whack if you were doing something stupid.
Well, like setting fires in the marsh.
Yeah, well, no, that still don't know who did that.
A culvert going underneath the road. And when the tide came in, it would fill up the whole marsh back here. So when you had a high tide, this would all be water out
This
there.
would be an island.
Well, we used to go swimming down in the big creek down there, which is right by the big outfall thing. Never thinking that when the tide changed, of course, it was going to suck everything right back through the culvert. So smart me is out there when the tide changed. It sucked right underneath the culvert.
No kidding.
Came right through the other side. Thank God there was no tree or anything blocking it off.
Yeah.
And I came out, shook my head, and went home. Never told anybody. My mother, the neighbor, one of the neighbors, I forget. I think she was living over here at the Pearson's house at the time. Had heard about it, and she was just almost. She was pale. She was so shaken by the whole thing. And asked my mother about it, and I don't know what you're talking about.
One person was
No.
a lookout,
That would be who?
We never did
looking
that.
for
I don't
your
remember that.
grandmother and your grandfather were playing cards and
Oh, yeah.
with an aunt and uncle of yours, and there'd be one lookout looking out to make sure that nobody saw them down on the
Yeah.
beach.
What they are.
It certainly answered some questions.
Yeah. Would you mind restating that for the record?
Let's talk about the floatable.
Floating.
So I was a few years older, and Dawn was a few years older than that, and we used to the three of us used to sneak out of our house. Would climb out
at
over
night.
the roof.
Yeah, we'd jump out on the
We
roof.
would as often as we could, and at that point, Mom was seeing Bill Houlihan down the end of the road. Well, we're all sitting on the seawall talking, right, and here comes my mother, and she caught us, and I said, you know what's really sad? If there had been a fire in a house, nobody would have known that it was empty. Everybody would have said, "Oh no, there's people in that house. You have to get them out," and nobody was home.
Yeah. How many years? Oh my gosh, it went on for about three days or 4 days.
Plus a
and it was,
bonfire that was over here in Adams Shore.
Yeah, there was
about 50, 75 feet tall, with railroad ties and everything else.
yeah, the fire
Lit it up,
department
burned
would come
forever.
in.
They lit it up on the 3rd of July, and it was still burning about a week later.
Plus, they had hot dogs and hamburgers.
Well, they used to,
Yeah.
yeah, along the beach, along the beach, they'd have hot dogs and fireworks and stuff, and then on the 4th of July, it would be a huge occasion. There'd be everything from parades to
Races.
races, 3-legged races and things like that, and everybody just focused on that area.
And then there'll be dances at night.
Yeah, But we both, I started out on survival, taking phone calls from anything from a little girl breaking up with her boyfriend to suicides. So I worked on that for about a year, and then Carol Ann came in, and I trained her on the hotline, and the relationship developed from
Became
there.
good friends first.
Became good friends, and I took off and for about, what was it, 6 months or so, and traveled the country with a backpack on my back and a guitar in my hand, and just went on Greyhound buses for years. 1974.
After college?
Yeah, after college, I was working in downtown Boston at Woolworths, just making a career out of Woolworths, and but I traveled the country for a long time. Ended up in San Francisco. Actually lived with David Lewis for a while out there, and then he came back to visit family back here, and I stayed in his apartment for a month. Got a job in San Francisco, but lost it, I think, shortly after Christmas, and then came back here.
You also killed us.
And it didn't get any better for many years.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, but you have to realize that Marty was the baby
Yeah.
too, so.
So what was it?
He
That,
was
Well, there's a lot of things.
no future in that guy. None.
None whatsoever. First of all, I was Italian.
Yeah.
Secondly, his father thought I was Catholic. Which
Oh.
I was.
Catholics in his
Two
family.
Right, right there,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Excuse me?
And then thirdly, I was going out with the youngest. So,
Still as a baby.
So what turned it around?
I just said the hell with it.
Yeah.
I didn't pay any attention to him anymore.
Yeah.
And we came in one night and we got engaged, and that was it. Then he didn't speak to me.
That's really down the bottom. But the one thing that I had going for me is I had Gordon. I had the easygoing, brother. Nice, got along, really no problems. Marry my daughter, good. Take her away, get rid of her. I'm ready to. I've had enough. You can have her college debts now.
They were never his anyway.
And Cynthia, your wedding reception
her
was
at
here at
college. We were,
Post Island,
Right
wasn't it?
here, your mother gave
It
it
was
to
at
us.
a
as
mixture.
was right
at
here?
UMass.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was the beginning of her sophomore year
Everyone
and
was
my
away then.
senior
I
year.
don't think anybody here was
Mid-year.
there because you were all
And
living
we met in a mixture.
away. You were overseas.
And I took her out for pizza, and that was the
Steph
end
was
of
in
it.
England.
What year
Yeah.
was, did you get married?
Yeah, that was the first thing I took her for pizza, and I found out that I found out the
I mean,
perfect
there were
food.
only like
I had already had,
maybe 50 people at the wedding.
because I'd already had 2 children by that time.
Yeah, Cindy and I both did too.
I remember hearing about
I graduated in '73 with a bachelor's degree and
Somebody like
'75
to
with a master's.
visit my
In my memory, I'm just going to free associate. Mackerel that get curled in my sneaker because they've been in there so long since I caught them. The mud flats, walking barefoot and being able to run faster than anybody in the world on the mud flats. Digging razor clams with my hands, which I still have been able to amaze my kids by being able to do. Saturday night dinners here at Post Island with Gordon and Lillian and Cynthia and Martha and Bob and Betty with the bounty of the sea, the flounder, the bucket of clams that Charlie Johnson would always contribute for steamers, the brown bread and the baked beans. It goes on from there. The bathing suit that I wore for an entire summer and never changed out of. The once-a-year trip to Paragon Park and the other trip to Fenway Park that we'd make. Remember going in once and Ricky Ranger had a pretty large bag of his lunch. And we said, "What did you make?" And he said, 7 peanut butter sandwiches. And by the time we were pulling past Bill Houlihan's, he goes, "I finished them all." I hadn't even left Post Island. I remember that every summer had a different pastime. One year it was yo-yos, another year it was playing mumbly peg, another year it was poker, and then it was lifting weights as we got a little bit older. And then the Beatles arrived, and that was the end of everything. I can remember coming of age and becoming aware of these people of the opposite sex who seemed to be coming in. And actually one was Rita Garrity, who I found out last summer still lives on Poplar Avenue.
Oh my gosh, really?
And yes, and we reintroduced ourselves, and I can say that Rita Garrity now is not the same as Rita Garrity. But what's great now is I come here and there's Stevie Hawes, and there's Bobby Pearson, and there's Ruthie Kelly, and so even though we've all gotten older and in different places, there's still something that endures about Post Island that's been great.
Now, you didn't mention the fires. Were there any fires?
Oh, any fires?
Yeah, fires.
You mean the annual fires?
The annual fires,
Yes,
yes.
no, every year some
I remember the
scallywags would set the marsh on fire.
Wow, and that was
And we'd always
scary.
want to wring their necks. And then every winter we would find out that someone had broken into the cottage and usually stolen something of no value whatsoever.
But we were family.
Yeah.
Their cottage.
Bad guy. Bad little
I
kid.
remember stealing the raspberries from Aunt Edith. I remember the pleasure of a stolen apple from Mr. Clement, and how they would say, "Kids, if you will just ask, we'll be glad to give you the apples." And we would never ask because it was so much more fun to steal them at night. Grapes would be like commandos sneaking up there and going, "Now!"
Or the grapes from Bill Horton.
The grapes from Bill Horton, but you didn't want to mess with Bill Horton. Bill Horton showed up at this house about 5 years ago.
No.
I was kidding. He said I was the only remaining person he could find at Post Island at that point. Anyway, but those are all the memories, and you got to put them all together to have them really make sense.
Well
Ta-da.
done. Yeah, it does, right?